Hello, this is Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours. Thank you for joining us for Wednesday night Move to Panama Q&A live stream. This live stream is all about you getting answers to your questions about moving to and living in Panama. In just a little bit, I'm going to open it up for your questions. But while we're waiting for people to come in, we've got a few people just now coming in. I'm going to make a couple of announcements, and then I'll explain to you how you can ask a question on our live stream. So for the benefit of people that are new, my name's Jackie Lang, the owner of Panama Relocation Tours. And since 2010, we've been offering information about how to move to Panama and live in Panama the right way. So it's hassle-free and you can avoid costly mistakes. We have all-inclusive tours that we do across the country. We also have something called our online guide. You can get more information about both of those on our website at panamarelocationtours.com. And while you're there, please take a few minutes to subscribe to our newsletter. When you do that, you'll get 15 free lessons about moving to Panama. Plus, you'll get notifications when we have new videos coming up, when we're going to do a live stream like this one, and when there's any changes in the rules and the laws and the way things are done in Panama. So it's a good way for you to stay informed and stay up to date on all the things that are happening in Panama. So now, without further ado, I'm going to get to your questions, and let me tell you how that works. I'm not going to be able to click on your name and unmute you and put you on the screen with me. I wish I could, but maybe some of you wish I wouldn't. So we're not going to do that. You don't have to worry about it. What you're going to have to do is type your question into the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it. And then I'll pop it up on the screen and I'll answer it. Let me warn you right now that some of your questions may scroll up off the screen before I can get to it. So you might have to type it in a couple of times for me to get to the question. So the first question we have tonight is from Abstract Land. It says, I got married in Poland and currently living in Canada. Where is the marriage certificate can be authenticated at Polish consulate or the embassy? So you can go contact the Polish consulate in Canada and ask them if they can give you a certified, you want to do a certified copy of your marriage certificate, not the original, but the certified copy, and if they can authenticate it there. So that would be the first stop, would be to talk to the Polish consulate. So once again, if you have a question for me, you're going to have to type it into the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it. So I can, whoops, I clicked on the wrong one. It's scrolling so fast. So Crystal says, how's the weather right now? Wanting to know how to pack. So the weather right now in Boquete at 7 o'clock, it started raining just a little bit before the live stream. We had some lightning and thunder kind of rolled through, but it seems to have passed. So that's a good thing. Hopefully it's passed. But this is what you need to know about the weather in Panama. Because we're only 9 degrees from the equator, the temperature stays the same in Panama all year. So whether it's January or July, the temperature is going to be exactly the same. At sea level, it's going to be 90 degrees plus or minus 5. And you're going to have some days, if you're coming on a Panama relocation tour, that we will be at sea level. So it'll be about 90 degrees plus or minus 5. And then for every 1,000 foot increase in elevation, the temperature drops about 4 degrees. So we are going to be spending some time in Boquete, which is between 3,500 and 4,500 feet. So it's quite a bit cooler there. We'll also be in Volcan, where it's between 4,000 and 6,000 feet. So it's going to be a little bit cooler there. And then we'll have the temperatures that are in the middle. So during your 7-day stay in Panama, because we're going to be at different elevations, the temperature can be from between 90 degrees and I would say 70 degrees, maybe even a little cooler at night. And Kevin wants to know, Jackie, at age 62, I'm wanting good health insurance in Panama. Cobra insurance is almost $600 a month. Well, you don't want to get that, Kevin. The number one thing that you need to realize about insurance in Panama, I just wrote an article about that called The Dirty Little Secrets About Using Insurance in Panama, is there's all kinds of insurance that you can get that says it covers you overseas, but the problem is the Panama hospitals won't accept it. So it doesn't do you any good at all. So at 62 years old, I would highly recommend that you get Panama insurance. which is going to cover you in Panama. There's also some worldwide insurance that's available to you at 62 that will be pretty affordable. If you go to our website at Panama Relocation Tours, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a search feature. Type in health insurance options, and you'll see a complete article about the health insurance options. I also have a link to the brochure for the insurance companies so you can see what's available. And then pick up the phone and call or email one of the insurance agents that we work with, and they can give you advice on the best one for your particular situation. So GSM wants to know, how's the water pressure in Panama compared to the USA? Can toilet paper be flushed? So, the toilet paper can definitely be flushed down the toilet. Water pressure is very good in some areas, maybe not so good in other areas. You should know that when we're at the end of the dry season, like the month of April and perhaps a little into May, the water pressure could be a little bit lower if you're in a house or you're in a business or a building that does not have a reserve water tank. But other than that, the water pressure is pretty good most of the year, for showers, flushing the toilet, all those things. Mountainside wants to know, how do I get a rental agreement letter for a visa application if I'm staying at a hotel? Well, some of the hotels, especially if you stay at an apartment hotel, they'll give you a letter that says you're staying there on their letterhead, and that should suffice for you getting a residency visa. Keep in mind, if you're a single person, you don't need a lease agreement or a rental agreement to get a visa. It's only if you're a married couple that you need a rental agreement. Why they have that crazy rule, I don't know. But, you just go with the flow and don't try to change things here in Panama. That is the way it is. So BL says, could you speak a bit about the professional visa if you have a bachelor's degree? I'm not sure if I can get a pensionado visa, but I do have an unlisted bachelor's degree. So let me talk about both of those visas. For the pensionado visa, you have to have at least $1,000 a month in lifetime income, like a pension, Social Security, retirement income. 1,000 is for one person. If you're married, it's 1,250. So that's what you're going to need for the pensionado visa. If you don't qualify for that, you've got a couple of different options. One of them is you could buy an annuity that would produce that much money, a lifetime annuity that produce $1,000 a month in lifetime income. Then you could get the pensionado visa. The professional visa is a whole different ballgame. With the professional visa, first of all, you have to it has to be a degree that is in a profession that's not a protected profession for Panamanians only. And there's a lot of professions that are only for Panamanians. If you look at our article about the professional visa on our website, I have a link to the different protected professions. So it can't be in one of those. And then it's quite a long and drawn out process for you to even get that visa. First of all, I have a list in that article of documents that you have to gather up, like the transcript, your degree, and some other information from the college that you went to. That will be submitted to your immigration attorney along with $500, and then all of it submitted to the University of Panama, who analyzes everything to see if it meets the qualifications. And if it does, that could take 6 months. It could take even longer than 6 months for you to get approval. Once you get approval, then you can apply for the visa. Initially, you're going to get a temporary visa, and it won't be until 2 years later that you'll get the permanent visa. So it does take quite a bit longer for the professional visa. It's just there's no financial requirements, which is a nice thing. And Simone says, Jackie, do we need to pay import tax on bringing computers and some other electronics into the country? No, there's no tax on bringing your computers in. Only if you brought in like 10 computers and they were in their original boxes, then they would probably think it's for resale and they might charge you a tax on it. But if it's just take it out of the original box, if it is brand new, and then you can bring it in with no problems at all. Kevin wants to know how much money to invest in order to produce $1,000 a month. I really don't know the answer to that question. I know approximately, I think it's like $200,000 that you would have to invest in a lifetime annuity for you to get $1,000 a month. But you really need to talk to the insurance company that creates these lifetime annuities and get that information from them. But ballpark, about 200,000. There's also the Friendly Nation visa that for $200,000, you could vest in just a 3-year CD. So at the end of 3 years, you can have all your money back. And that would produce a visa for you also. The annuity has to be for a lifetime, but the Friendly Nation visa, it only has to be for 3 years. Louisa wants to know how much is too much for an immigration attorney to charge for processing your visa. Well, Louisa, it depends on which visa it is. Different visas have different price tags. Steph wants to know, if I buy the online guide now, will I have access to it for a few years, including updates? When you buy the online guide, then you have lifetime access, so long as you don't break the rules for the license agreement, then you're going to have lifetime access to it and to all the updates, and you'll have access to our private Facebook group also. The only way that you could lose access to the online guide or the Facebook group is if you violate the rules, which are clearly spelled out and that you agree to before you buy the online guide. Harry wants to know, what's the best way to put money into your Panama bank from your U.S. bank? So you've got 2 ways, Harry, to put money from your U.S. bank in your Panama bank. One is you can just wire the money from your U.S. bank into your Panama bank. Now that might cost about $40. Some people use Wise, and then I think at like wise.com, I think it's only like $5 to do it that way. The other thing you can do is you can write a U.S. check and deposit that into your Panama bank account. They only accept checks from a U.S. bank, but that's a good way to get money into your account also. It will take a couple weeks for it to clear, but then you don't have those big wire fees. And Mark wants to know, once we have our visas, how difficult does the government make it to open up your own restaurant or bar? So, I've never opened up a restaurant or a bar, but I know a lot of people that have. The key is that you get the right visa, Mark. You don't want to get the pensionado visa and then want to open up a restaurant and a bar. You need to get a Friendly Nation visa or self-economic solvency or investor visa that will allow you to get a work permit. So that you can open up that kind of an establishment. Your immigration attorney can help you with that entire process of dotting the I's and crossing the T's on opening up a business in Panama. You do have to jump through some steps, I know, because I have a business. So Dana says, when moving with big dogs, what happens if a pet would need to see a vet during the home quarantine period? So there's plenty of vets in Panama all over the country that make home visits. And we actually have a list of veterinarians in our online Panama relocation guide. So check that out. But a lot of them, the vet I use for my cat, he makes home calls for 25 bucks. And Myra wants to know, before I get to that question, for those of you that came in just a little bit late, if you're wondering, how can I ask a question? You're going to have to type it into the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it, and I'll get to it as fast as I can. It is kind of scrolling up pretty fast, so I might not get it before it scrolls off the screen, so you might have to type it in a couple of times. So Myra wants to know, please explain what a hotel apartment is. Do you have a list of these apartments and rental rates? So if you were on the live stream that we did on Saturday, I interviewed Diane, who lives in Panama City in an apartment hotel. So it's a hotel that just has a lot of apartments. The advantage in those is that everything's included. Your electric bill, the maid service, some of them include breakfast, that they bring it to you. Internet, everything's included. And those prices can range, it depends on where they are, but in Panama City, on the low end, they're going to start at about $1,000 a month. But keep in mind, it's all inclusive, and they have some that are, $2,000, $3,000 a month, depending on the amenities. If you have our online Panama relocation guide, do a search for all-inclusive apartment, and you'll see a list of about 20 places in Panama City. I'll add some more to it when I have time to do the research. How is the water for drinking? Well, it depends on where you are. I live in Boquete. My water's great. Most of the water goes through, the municipal water goes into a reserve water tank, and then it goes through a filter before it comes into your house, and it's good. If you don't have a reserve water tank, or if you live in an older house that might have older pipes, then there could be some problems. But for the most part, on the mainland in Panama, the water's just fine for drinking. If you live on the islands like Bocas del Toro or in the Pearl Islands, I would recommend that you only drink bottled water. And we inquired with immigration attorney Javier about a bachelor's in criminal justice. It wasn't on the protected list, thinking it would be okay, but Javier told us it would not be accepted. Well, that's probably because, they probably just fit it in with a different category. I think there are some different things about law that are a protected profession, so they probably fell under that umbrella, even though it didn't have that name. But they're real picky about which degrees they will approve. Yo wants to know, I use MasterCard debit card. Can I use that in Panama, or does it have to be a credit card? You can use your debit card in Panama like an ATM machine to get cash. Some businesses are going to accept a debit card, and some businesses will only accept a credit card. You need to know, if you use your debit card in Panama, there's a $250 limit on what you can do, and there's a $6.50 fee for doing it. So it might be much better if you use a credit card instead of a debit card for making purchases, and just use the debit card when you need to get cash. And Bob wants to know, we lost our 2 corgis and wanted to wait to get some new dogs after moving to Panama. Do you know if there are any corgis in Panama? I'm sorry, Bob, but I don't know. There probably is, but I don't know. Does the reload tour include any neighborhoods on the outskirts of Panama City? So mostly we do neighborhoods on the inside of Panama City on the Saturday that we spend in Panama City. Occasionally we go to Clayton. We kind of go where we can find a rental property. If you're interested in seeing particular neighborhoods on the outskirts of Panama City, then I would recommend that you come in a day early, and we have private tour guides that could take you to those other neighborhoods if you wanted to see them. And if someone is dating a Panamanian but not living in Panama, and that person wants to marry him or her in Panama, how does that work? So if you want to get married in Panama, the best thing to do, you can try to do it yourself, but the best thing to do would be to get with your immigration attorney, because you're still going to need to get a visa. They can facilitate the marriage certificate. You'll both go to the notary's office, and they'll notarize everything, and they'll say the vows for you to get married. It costs about $50 to do that. Then it takes about 10 days for your marriage certificate to be recorded in the public registry before you could apply for a visa. Shauna says, is it really difficult to move to Panama with a car? Also, does Amazon deliver quickly there? So it's not difficult, it's just expensive to move with a car. So if you want to ship a car, you're looking at $3,000 to $5,000 to ship it. And then you're going to have a 22% import tax once it gets here. Plus, within 30 days of it arriving, it has to be re-registered as a Panamanian car. That costs money also. So like I said, it's just expensive to get your car here. Amazon does deliver. As a matter of fact, I picked up Amazon orders today. So you have to use a mail forwarding service in Panama. They'll assign an address to you in Florida, close to Miami. And what you do with Amazon, you have the packages sent to Miami. Then from Miami, they're flown to Panama. So from the day I order till the day I get my package, it's about 5 days. It's not this next day delivery like you get in other places. It's about 5 days. Eric wants to know, why Panama versus Belize, Salvador? Why choose Panama over other countries? So when I was doing my search for a place to live back in 2009, 2010, I visited Belize, I visited El Salvador, I visited Costa Rica, Honduras, Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, Peru. I visited a bunch of different countries, and I picked Panama because Panama has a more stable government than all of those other places, because Panama uses the US dollar, because it's a small country. It doesn't have a military, and people just get along. The crime rate is much lower than some of those other countries. We did an interview last Saturday with a lady named Diane, and her interview was about why Panama. I asked her to do the live stream because she had written something on Facebook about why she picked Panama. And with her permission, I copied and put that into an article on my website. So look on the Panama Relocation Tour website for a recent article that says why Panama, and you'll see the reasons why. Terry says, are there any diving shipwrecks around Panama? I don't know. There might be, but I have no idea. I'm not a diver, so I'm not aware of that. Stuart wants to know, are they increasing the investment amount from 300,000 from 200,000 for the Friendly Nation visa in October? No, for the Friendly Nation visa, the investment is still going to be 200,000, whether you're investing in real estate or you're investing in a 3-year CD to qualify for the Friendly Nation visa. There's a completely different visa that's called the Golden Visa, and it's going from 300,000, which it is right now, to 500,000 starting October the 1st. But the Friendly Nation visa is staying the same at 200. Dale wants to know, if I get a pensionado visa, are we still allowed to work on our own home, renovate, and then resell for a profit? You can do that so long as it's on your own home. But if you make a business out of it where you buy up like 3 or 4 homes and you're renovating all of them at the same time, then you need to have a work permit. But if it's your own home that you bought a fixer-upper with intention that you're going to fix it up and then turn around for a profit and then maybe do it again on the next one, that's okay. You just can't have several different projects going at the same time, or it's considered a business. And Sandra wants to know, can you drive over age 70? You can drive if you're over age 70 in Panama. However, once you turn 70 for your Panama driver's license, there's, first of all, it expires every 2 years, so you have to renew it every 2 years. And there's an additional step when you turn 70. You have to go to a geriatric doctor or an internal medicine doctor, and they'll do a mental evaluation to make sure you're sharp enough to be out there driving on the roads. If you pass the test, which is very easy, then you'll still be able to drive. You should know that some car rental companies will not rent to someone that's 70 years or over. So I wouldn't recommend renting a car online, because you might get there and then find out they won't rent to you because you're over 70. Or call them first to verify that they'll rent to you if you're 70 or over. Richard says, 4 of us are thinking of booking a tour next year. When do you think the prices for flights are the best value? We'll be flying from Toronto, Canada. I would say talk to a travel agent and they can tell you when the flights are going to be best. I'm sure with spring break and things like that, prices might go up, or maybe they go down. I don't know. But I don't know when the flights are the best. You can also check out a website called Google Flights, and you can say, from Toronto to Panama City, and it'll show you different prices on different days and even different months. And you can probably see a trend on when the prices are better. For example, if you fly on a Wednesday instead of a Friday, it might be 50% less. You're still going to have the hotel expenses, but you might save some money. Can you build a house for a reasonable price? So in Panama, that's a subjective question, because you can build a house for, you can build a house for like $65 a square foot here, or you can build a house for $265 a square foot. It just depends on what the finishes are, how big it's going to be, and all kinds of different factors. But you can build, especially if you're working with a Panamanian builder, you can get a very affordable house. And Daniel wants to know, is it possible to have your Social Security check automatically deposited into your Panama bank account? We already have the account. Absolutely, you can. We even have an article about that, and we have a link to a special form that you fill out to make that happen. So if you go to our website at Panama Relocation Tours, type in Social Security in the upper right-hand corner, or you can still get your Social Security, I think is the title of the article, and you can read how to get your Social Security direct deposited into your Panama account. And Marla wants to know, hi, Jackie, For the investor visa, we can invest in the Panama Stock Exchange. How much is the invest? How proven is the investment? So I think the investment in the stock exchange is about $750,000. And I don't invest in the Panama stock market. I invest in stock markets in other countries where I get a much better return than they're offering in Panama. So I can't really talk about the stock exchange in Panama. Crystal wants to know, how much cash would you recommend bringing on the tour? So on the tour, it's an all-inclusive tour. Your meals are included, hotels are included. The only thing that's not included is your alcoholic beverages. So depends on how much you drink, is how much money you need to bring. Most of the hotels or bars are going to also take a credit card. I would say if you bring less than 500, that should be more than enough to take care of anything and any souvenirs that you want to buy. Is the 1,000 monthly pension income gross or net? So it's net. It's going to be the amount that you actually receive every month and deposit it into your bank account. That's what they look at as qualifications. Are you aware if Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield is an insurance Panama works with? Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield is an insurance that some hospitals in Panama work with. I did a new article recently called The Dirty Little Secrets about using your insurance in Panama, and I have some information about the Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield. I also have a link to all of the private hospitals in Panama that shows exactly which insurances they accept. So check that out and see which ones accept it. I can tell you that Hospital Cherokee and David, it does accept it with no prepayment if they do direct billing, but check out the other hospitals. Is Uber or Lyft widely available in Boquete or Volcan? It's not available at all in Boquete or Volcan. It is available in Panama City, but in Boquete and Volcan, it's going to be a taxi or one of the little community buses that you'll have to use. Let me get a drink real quick. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, got a piece of ice in that one. So Kevin says, I need a lifetime guarantee letter from the pension visa. Do I still need to wait 3 months after the guarantee letter to apply? So you only need to wait 1 month. 1 month after you've had a pension deposited into your bank account, then you can apply for your visa. So Louisa says, for the pensionado visa, how much is too much for a lawyer to charge for processing? For the pensionado visa, I think the most expensive lawyer that we have charges $1,600. Most of them charge like $1,200 or $1,300 for the pensionado visa. So definitely don't pay more than $1,600, and that better include more stuff than just the visa. But you can get a visa for about $1,200, and that's all you really need to spend. Does Panama still have discounts for retires? If so, what and how much of a discount? Panama still has discounts. So our website has a list of all of them, but I'll give you an overview. To look on our website for a list of all of them, search pensionado visa discounts or pensionado discounts. So for example, you get 25% off your airfare to anywhere in the world. Keep in mind, this is only after you get your permanent visa. It doesn't apply with a temporary visa. You get 25% off your electric bill, 20% off at restaurants, 15% off at fast food. If you go to the movie theater, half price. Keep in mind, it's only like $4 or $5 to go to the movie theater, and then you get half of that. So for $2 or $3, you can go to a movie. So those are just some examples. You also get 20% off if you see a doctor or if you need to have any medical procedures done. David, who's U.S. Army retired, thank you for your service, David. As a veteran, can we use any hospitals in the city other than Breezes? Well, right now you can't even use Breezes. I can tell you that TRICARE and FMP, the Federal Medical Program, are available at Hospital San Fernando. They're also available at Hospital Nacional, and I believe the Panama Clinic also, but not at Breezes. Greece is in a little bit of trouble right now, so you can't use them. Roberto says, is there a list available of which misdemeanors will exclude or slow down the app process? So no misdemeanor is going to slow down the app process. What can slow it down is if you have multiple misdemeanors. If you have more than one, like if you had 4 DUIs and some other misdemeanors. If you have a lot of misdemeanors, that can slow down the application process. If you have misdemeanors, your attorney is probably going to need to do what's called a visto bueno, which they submit your National Criminal Report or your FBI report or RCMP, along with a letter explaining that, he did this when he was young and foolish and he hasn't been in trouble anymore for a long time and he's not going to do any of these things in Panama. And they have to request permission before you can apply for a visa. So that visto bueno takes extra time for your immigration attorney to create that, send it to immigration and get the approval, and it's going to cost a little bit of extra money, but maybe $400 or $500. Some attorneys, depending on how many misdemeanors, might charge $1,000. Bess wants to know, do you know how much Dr. DaCosta charges for ozone therapy? I do. I had ozone therapy recently, and the charge was $120 for 1 hour. Ozone therapy. Plus, they do some other things before that. They do an IV and extract some of your blood, and then they get just the plasma of your blood, and they put the ozone in that, and then put it in an IV to give it back to you. $120. So Krista wants to know: is it legal to rent out rooms of your home or investment properties on a pensionado visa? It's not. That would be considered income. Well, anytime you're making income in Panama, even if you're like selling something at the Tuesday market, you made money. You have to report that income and you have to pay taxes on it. With a pensionado visa, you can own rental properties and you can rent out things, but that you've made money in Panama, so you have to report the income in Panama and pay taxes. And depending on where you're from, you're supposed to report your worldwide income and pay taxes on it there also. Can you still get a visa opening a Panama business and hiring yourself? You can. That's a Friendly Nation visa. We have an article on our website called 4 Ways to Get a Friendly Nation Visa, and that's way number 4. So check out that article for some more details about it. So if anybody else has a question for me, I think some of them have scrolled up a little bit. But if you have a question for me, just type it into the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it, and I will be glad to answer it. So what is ozone therapy for? So ozone therapy is to boost your immune system. And the best thing for you, instead of me trying to explain it, the best thing to do is do a Google for ozone therapy, and you'll see all kinds of information, but it boosts your immune system. Also, if you have any inflammation in your body, it helps to alleviate the inflammation. Can you tell me about some long-term care facilities in Panama? I can. I just wrote an article about assisted living in Panama. It just came out last week, assisted living. There's not very many private facilities in Panama, but there's a lot of government-operated facilities. A shared room is as little as $600 a month, including your food. Most of them are about $1,000 a month for a private room. But check out that article, and I have a link to each one of the assisted living facilities in that article so you can see what they're like. Marla says, is renting a property on Airbnb Panama considered Panama income? Absolutely, it's considered Panama income. Are there any restrictions on bringing your prescription medications? There's no restrictions on bringing your meds in. I would suggest that you also bring a copy of your prescription just to have it. People discourage me from driving from Eastern Canada on my own car. What is your advice? Well, I've never driven all the way from Canada or the United States to Panama, so I can't share any firsthand advice. We do have 2 YouTube channels of people that drove from the United States to Panama last year in 2023. One was 2 guys that drove down with their dogs. The other was 2 women that drove down with their 2 dogs. So check out those videos for more information. I want to buy land all cash. Do I need to open a Panama bank account, and for how long in order to access thousands of dollars in order to buy the land? So you wouldn't need a Panama bank account. You could just wire money from your account in whatever country you're in directly into the seller's bank account. You wouldn't have to have a Panama bank account. Is there a community where container homes are built, or do you need to purchase your own land to build one? There are no container home communities. I've always thought that would be a great idea to build a container home community, but there's not one. So if you want to build a container home or have a container home, you would have to buy the land to put it on. What is the current cost to rent a modest 2-bedroom home in Alto Boquete? So for a modest 2-bedroom home, more of a Panamanian style, you can get that for $500 or $600 with utilities included. If you get a little bit more upscale, 2-bedroom home in Alto Boquete, you're looking at about $800 to $900. What is the new income qualification requirement for a couple under the pensionado guidelines? The guidelines have not changed for the pensionado visa. For a couple, you need $1,250 for a couple to qualify for the pensionado visa. And that can come from one person and you both get a visa, or you can combine your pensions and you can get a visa that way. Peter says, is it possible to take both a private tour Boquete and Volcan through your services? Just wondering about the physical distance. You definitely can. The private tour guides that we have in Volcan and in Boquete, they both know both areas very well. So you could do a tour guide in Volcan that does that area and one in Boquete that does that area. You could just use one guide that shows you both places. You probably need 2 days for a Boquete and a Volcan trip. 1 day is not enough. Now that I got my permanent residency card as pensionado, I think the only thing remains is the cedula. Do I need more specific documents, or do I go directly? So you're going to need the resolution from your permanent visa that you'll have to take with you, and you need to make an appointment for you to get your cedula at the electoral tribunal. Yo says, if I bought land in Panama, is it difficult to PHYS? Sorry, but I don't know what that stands for. Do you pay taxes to Panama if you make money as a digital nomad? You only have to pay taxes in Panama if you're selling products or services to people in Panama. If you're a digital nomad and all your business is done outside of Panama, you're not selling any services to people in Panama, then you won't owe any taxes in Panama. Panama has what's called a territorial taxing system. So they only tax you on money that you earned in Panama. Like if you rented out a house in Panama, you earn that in Panama. If you, if you're selling widgets, then you're going to have to do it. If you're renovating houses and selling them, then you're going to have to pay taxes. By the way, if you have a question for me, you're going to have to type 3 question marks in front of it for me to identify it as a question. Then I'll pop it up on the screen. Anything else, I just assume you guys are having your own little talk over there, and I don't have time to read it. Do you speak Spanish? How important is it to know the language before you move to Panama? I speak, I would call it moderate Spanish. I'm not really muy rapido, super fast Spanish like some Panamanians are, but I can get anything done that I need to do in Panama. I run my business, mostly speaking to Spanish speakers here in Panama, and go to the grocery store and order things. And my electricity and my internet went out the other day, so I had to get on the phone with customer service and get it fixed. So I get by. If you just learn some Spanish before you come to Panama, it's going to be helpful. Just being here, you're going to learn a little bit more. What services in Florida do you recommend for mail scanning or forwarding? I don't recommend any of them in Florida. I recommend that you use a mail forwarding company in Panama that will assign you an address because the one in Florida isn't going to do you any good at all. How easy is it to bring cats into Panama? I'm bringing 2 with me. So it's easy to bring cats into Panama. However, you should know that on the airplane, if your cat's small enough, it can fit underneath the seat in front of you, but it's only 1 cat for 1 person. So if you're just 1 person, you've got 2 cats, you're going to get pay for a friend to come to Panama with you so they can bring your other cat. Otherwise, you'll have to put 1 cat in cargo, and you probably don't want to do that. Yo says, building a house in New Zealand is full expense of red tape. Was it the same situation in Panama? I want to build my own tiny home. It's not so hard. You do have to get a building permit, and then before you can get a certificate of occupancy, they do have to come out and inspect the electrical, the plumbing, the septic tank, and things like that to get a certificate of occupancy. But it's pretty easy in Panama. In Panama, is drywall used in the interior of residential homes and apartments? I asked because no drywall. The only thing they use drywall for is the ceilings, but not on the walls at all. So that also means that if you want to hang a picture on the wall, you don't put a nail in the wall. You have to get a drill with a special bit for cement to put a hole in, and you got to put a little, I don't know what they call a little thingy in the hole so that it doesn't fall apart before you can hang any pictures. It's a big ordeal just to hang something. What do attorney fees usually cover? So the legal fees for you getting a residency visa include them putting all the paperwork together to help you apply for a residency visa, and it's going to include both the temporary visa and the permanent visa. Some attorneys also include helping you get a cedula. Some attorneys charge extra to help you get the cedula. Some will charge extra if you want a bank account, because you don't need a bank account to get a visa. But usually it's just for you to get a visa. Do some of the rental homes have gardens? A vegetable garden here in California would love to grow vegetables. Some of them do have a garden area, and even if it doesn't, you can just ask the landlord if it's okay for you to till up part of it for you to have a garden. You need to get another drink. So Julie says, love Volcan and gardening. Do you know much about the pesticide spraying in Panama and high rates of cancer? So in the area of Cerro Punta, which is north of Volcan, they do quite a bit of spraying of the crops there. I won't buy food that comes from Cerro Punta, and it'll have a label that says it comes from Cerro Punta. I won't buy it because I know it's got pesticides. But there's many, many areas where they don't use pesticides and you don't have to worry about it. I apologize, I missed your answer to the gal who asked if it's legit to rent out rooms in a casita on a pensionado visa. I understand so if you own a house, then you are allowed to rent out the room in the house. If you're renting a house and you want to rent out one of the rooms in the house, then that's not allowed for you to do that. You will have to report the income. Hugh wants to know, do you have to pay taxes on a rental income you receive from the U.S.? No, you don't. You only have to pay taxes on a rental income you receive from a property that's in Panama. However, the United States wants you to pay taxes on that income for the property in the U.S. and your property in Panama, because you have to pay taxes if you're a U.S. citizen on your worldwide income. Given that Panama is mostly, sorry, I don't know what that means. You're going to have to retype it, Keith. The letter from SSA administration does not have the words for life. Is that a problem to get the pensionado started? Super easy solution. What you do is you attach an affidavit to it that says, I swear that this $1,475 that I get every month is going to be for the rest of my life. And you sign that in front of a notary, attach that to your SSA letter, submit all of that to the Panama consulate for authentication, and you're good to go. So, Louisa, when renting an apartment, it's easy to get your security deposit back if you move out. So if there's no damage, then usually you can definitely get your security deposit back. If there's any damage, then they're going to hold it. I've heard there's a dress code to enter the government buildings. Would you elaborate, please? So there's definitely a dress code for any of the government buildings. You have to, all government buildings, all government offices, not just immigration. First of all, women cannot have a sleeveless top. Nobody can wear shorts. No shoes with no sandals and things like that. It has to be a closed-toe shoe. But no sleeveless top. So for a man, you need to wear, it doesn't have to be a long sleeve top, but it needs to be, could be a button up or a polo kind of a shirt would be fine. Is purchasing land in Panama very expensive? For instance, half an acre. So it depends on where you're buying. I've bought land in Panama and built on it. I also bought land and put a greenhouse on it. So some places land is super affordable. Some places land is very, very expensive. The closer you are to where there's a whole bunch of expats like Boquete, the more expensive it's going to be. The further you are away from the expat havens, it could be 90% cheaper. I would love to stay in Boquete or Bocan area after the tour for a couple of months. Do you offer services to help find a place to stay? So we don't necessarily offer that service, but during your tour, you're gonna see some rentals during your tour. You might see the perfect one and say, "I'll take it," right during the tour, and you'll already have it. But you're also going to meet real estate agents in all the different areas that we visit. You just let them know what you want, and they'll find it for you. Do you bring cash, or how are lawyer fees or services paid? Bring thousands of dollars in cash makes me nervous. So all the lawyers, they'll take credit cards if you want to pay by credit card. You can also, many of them have an account in the United States, so you can use Zelle to move money from your account to their account. So some of them even you can pay some in crypto. So you don't have to bring cash. Oh, already got to that one. Are the rental prices in Bocan much cheaper than Boquete? Rental prices in Bocan are about 30% cheaper than Boquete. Even restaurants are 30% cheaper. Grocery store prices are cheaper in Bocan than they are in Boquete. Krista says, my husband likes to play rock and roll music. Is American rock and roll R&B popular in Panama? Anywhere to play music there? So it's popular in some areas, other areas that you don't really hear it at all. In Boquete, you hear it all the time. Also in the Coronado area, you hear it all the time. There's some restaurants in Panama City that play it, and once in a while in Bocas del Toro also. Evelyn wants to know, is there an apostille document service available in Panama, or must have it done before you arriving? You have to get your documents apostilled or authenticated before you come. If you don't have a Panama consulate near you, that's what FedEx and DHL is for. You can mail the documents to the Panama consulate. You don't have to drive there. I hope to go on a PRT with my spouse soon. Can you share similar places as lush and mountain views like Bocan? So Valle, Boquete is lush and beautiful. Valle de Anton is lush and beautiful. So all of those places are. By the way, if you're thinking about coming on a tour, I want to let everybody know that between now and March of 2025, we only have, I think, 12 or 14 spaces left on tours. And so even our March tours are about 50% sold out. So you need to look at our website at Panama Relocation Tours and click on that Book a Tour tab and see what dates are available. You only have to put up a $500 deposit to reserve a tour, but you need to do it sooner rather than later because we're almost sold out until March of next year. Are you aware of any up-and-coming areas in Panama that aren't quite as popular but show more interest of late? I am. The area that is Not on too many, those two areas that are not on people's radar, but it's definitely up and coming. One is just 45 minutes outside of Panama City. It's called Altos de Cerro Azul. I've been there. It's absolutely beautiful. And thing is, you know, rentals are cheap, houses are cheap. You have a view of Panama City. You're up in a higher elevation, so you have cooler weather. It's not like a town. It's just a community. So you're about 15 minutes to grocery stores and hospitals and, you know, places to get your hair cut and all those kind of things. But it's definitely getting on people's radar. There's also an area just south of Cerro Azul. We did a video about it. That's a lower Cerro Azul that has a country club with a golf course and swimming pools and all those kind of things. So that area, I think, is going to explode over the next 3 years. The other area is not the eastern side of the Azura, where you have Las Tablas and Chidri and Pedici, but on the western side of the Azura Peninsula, Torio. Take a look at our video about that area. Those two areas are the up and coming areas. If someone's a new house in Panama, when do you start paying property taxes? So for a brand new house, you're going to pay property taxes after 1 year. They used to have a thing where you didn't have to pay any property taxes for the first 20 years. That was for any home that was built after 2012, that you didn't have to pay property taxes for the first 20 years. The house I bought fell into that category. I had no property taxes for the first 12 years. But obviously, that's not available anymore. Now, if you buy a house that's $125,000 or less, you're never going to have property taxes. What do attorney fees cover? So we talked about that earlier. It covers you getting a visa is the most important thing that it's going to cover, is you getting a visa. By the way, I want to thank, gosh, it's already almost 8 o'clock. Time flies when you're having fun. I want to thank everybody so much for being here and for all of your questions. If you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter at PanamaRelocationTours.com. And that'll give you 15 free lessons about moving to Panama, about banking, healthcare, weather, all kinds of different information. But you'll also get updates when we have a new video coming out. We should have one coming out next week. I can't wait for you to see it. I've already seen a sneak peek of it. It's going to be amazing. So I can't wait for you to see that. Plus, you'll get updates about our live streams. Now, this live stream, our Q&A live stream, I'm doing them on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. But I've gotten emails from quite a few people that said it's confusing for me to do the Q&A on Wednesday at 7, then do the Saturday live stream at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and they would prefer that I just do it at the same time for both the Q&A and for the live stream. So starting in October, this Wednesday night Q&A is going to be back at 5 o'clock Central Time, and we're also going to do the Saturday interviews with people that have moved here. That will be at 5 o'clock. So it's the same time, so it won't be confusing for people. I actually got my whole setup here done at about 5 o'clock today. There are already people on there waiting for me to get started. They thought it started at 5 o'clock. So it's not so confusing. I'm going to make them both at 5 o'clock starting in October. So I want to thank everybody so much for being here. If I didn't get to your question, feel free to send me an email to info at PanamaRelocationTours.com, and I'll be glad to answer your question through email. Otherwise, I'll see you next Wednesday for another Q&A. Thanks. Have enjoyed the rest of your week, everybody. Bye.